everyone. Meteorologist Grant Smith here. Hey, this is probably the last episode of Season 2 of the Weather Seekers Podcast.
Season finale!
Yay!
We made it.
Yeah. So we're trying something new with this last episode because the idea here is simple podcast, simpler podcast. Makes it easier to edit. Mm-hmm. We'll be able to make these more often.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So that's why it looks a little different. But with me today, I've got Nick Morgan.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So you're one of the newer forecasters here. You're a lead forecaster.
Yep.
We will do a meet and greet and get to know you a little deeper.
All right.
At a deeper level.
Eventually.
Yeah. But you came to Juneau from Anchorage.
I did.
But you came to Anchorage from...
By way of Atlanta.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's a big jump from Atlanta to Anchorage.
And it was a big jump from the south to Alaska.
Yeah, I'm guessing you probably didn't have to forecast snow very often
I
in
think
Atlanta.
the most amount of snow that I forecasted in Atlanta was maybe 2 to 4 inches at the higher elevations in northeast Georgia.
And then you came to Alaska...
Yeah.
Where, hey, just a cool foot tonight.
Then, I don't think I had seen more than 6 inches of snow in my life until November of last year when Anchorage decided to get 2 feet over 2 days. So, yeah, pretty fun introduction to Alaska.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
We'll get to know you a little more. What I'm interested in these interviews and whatnot is your experience in the weather service at more than one office.
Okay.
Because, I've only been at the Juneau office. And before that, I was in TV. So, I think we have the same work experience lengthwise, but very different careers. So I think that'll be nice to hear your opinions on things as we go forward. So as of right now, as we're recording this, it is 1 o'clock a.m. We are working a mid.
We are.
Yeah. Overnight shift. There are no managers here. There's nobody else.
WFO after dark.
Yes. Or at night. Whichever way you want to go.
At night.
As you can see behind me, it is dark outside. There we go. Look at that. So we're going to talk about mids. And just working mids in the weather service.
All right.
As much as different things we can think about. But for starters, it is Monday. The forecast we are producing is for Monday, right?
Yeah. So step 1 with mids
is trying to
remember what day it is.
It really is. It's like, because normally, this is my thing. Normally, you wake up on a different day than when you went to sleep. But during mids, at least my way of doing it, is I will go to bed, wake up, go to bed, wake up, and it's still the same day.
Yep.
So it's a lot of mental gymnastics to try to remember what day it is.
A lot of alarms set, a lot of calendars kept, a lot of stress.
Yeah, just trying to keep time. So that's step 1 of mids, which we'll get into.
Yes.
But as far as the forecast, we went through, it's gonna rain.
Yep.
And it is raining.
Currently.
You just did the midnight ob.
Yep.
Not too long ago. We got, 1/3 of an inch of rain?
Yep, in the last 6 hours.
Yeah. So it's raining here in Juneau. It's gonna keep raining. I got a radar over here on the other side. It's raining. Rain's gonna continue.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
A low in the Gulf.
And it's spinning.
And we're going to see rain.
Yeah, and the other part of that we're keeping an eye on is the basin and all things Mendenhall flooding.
Yep.
As of the last time we looked, which was earlier during our shift, might have been last evening. I don't... Time just is a stretchy, lappy.
It's a construct, mate.
It's a construct, man. The basin was still going up.
Yep.
Mendenhall was flat. It was starting to go up again because it was raining, so it makes sense. But we are monitoring it. It's something we're keeping an eye on. If that becomes an issue, we'll start messaging that. We are messaging our partners and giving them ideas. So it is something we're watching. But On a midnight shift, it's a little bit harder because we don't have the sun to look at the cameras.
Yeah, we don't have our images. Sometimes the data's a little spotty overnight. Don't have all the necessary ways to get things fixed during the overnight. So
Yeah, we kind of have to have that threshold of this broke, but can it wait until the technicians
is
are
this
awake?
something that we need to try and fix immediately, or is this something we can wait until 6 hours from now when somebody comes in?
Yeah, and that's the decisions that we get to make.
Yep.
Well, you get to make.
Yeah.
And I get to support you.
Yeah, you're doing great, man.
I'm doing a great job. So let's get into this. Mids.
Let's do it.
Like, working a mid, what is it? Here in Juneau, we define mids as 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
But you are from Atlanta.
Yep.
But you guys had a couple of different shifts.
Yeah, there's a few different ways we could do it. I've done 12 a.m. to 8 a.m., and that was just for our aviation forecast timing. 11 to 7 seems to be a pretty popular shift that most people will do. Done 10 to 6, I've done 9 to 6. Anytime that just goes past midnight is considered a mid.
Yes.
So
The other part is it's dark.
yeah, we're in Alaska though, so like
It's just dark all the time.
it's dark all the time in the winter, or your sun comes up, it goes down at midnight and comes back up at 3 in the morning. So
That is kind of fun about working a mid during the summertime.
yeah,
Is you get to work and it's still kind of twilight, and then it gets dark, and then by the time you leave, it's just like bright light.
it's also like you also get that like second burst of energy as you're like leaving and you see the sunrise and things like that. I don't know, leaving a mid in the winter when it's still dark out, you come to work in the dark, you go home in the dark, you wake up and it's dark. Like it's just always dark. At least in the summertime, that I've loved about Alaska is if I go and do the 4 a.m. observation, the sun was coming up in the summer and I was like, getting near the end of the shift. Okay,
Yeah.
there's my second wind.
Yeah.
There we go.
And also, in the wintertime, when you get clear skies, that's when you can see the northern lights.
That is true.
That's also nice. You can step outside. It's like, there they are. It's fun.
Did you see them the last couple of weeks? I know we
haven't
had
seen
some couple of Aurora events the last few weeks. I hadn't seen them either.
Here in Juneau or up
Yeah.
in Fairbanks?
Yeah, we got a couple of hours of clear skies last week, and we had some pretty nice. I saw a couple nice Aurora photos on the Facebooks, so I was jealous I missed it.
Yeah, I was sleeping, so
Yeah, such is life.
such is life. So that's the timings of the mids, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of places will have different weeks. Like here in Juneau, we have every pay period is broken up. We have 14 days we got to cover.
Mm-hmm.
We have one person work, or I guess on the general side, we have one general work 6 days in a row, and then they get 4 or 5 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 2 others that fill the other rest of the days of the pay period, 4 and 4. The leads, you got to work a couple of 5 strings and then 1 4.
Yep, 5 strings and then a 4 string.
Yeah, that's how we do it here. We're kind of like an experiment phase of trying to change how we do our schedules here.
Ours just come around more rapidly because we
Yeah,
do
the
less
leads
days.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like Anchorage, you guys did it a little differently.
Yeah, when I was a general there, we would do 2 weeks of mids or overnight shifts, and that would be working 5 on, then you would be off for a couple days, and then you go back and do 5 more. And that was just to kind of give you a break throughout the period. When I was in Atlanta, we would do 7 in a row. So you would do 7, and then you would not do another set of overnights for a few months. So it's been different at each office that I've been to. So,
Yeah. That's what I'm gathering.
I do like what you guys do here, though, especially with the 5 days off that you build into your break, just given where we're located in the travel. That's a huge scheduling thing that I think you guys are doing well on.
Yeah, well, the ideal was because it takes so much to get anywhere.
Uh-huh.
If you're working a mid in like Oklahoma, you get done with your string. I'm going to go visit family. You can just hop on the road and head out. But here, you got to buy plane tickets. You got to travel upwards of 10 to 14 hours to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And one of our generals is taking advantage of this. She's getting off at 7 a.m. on her last string of 6.
Yep.
And she's going to get on a 10 o'clock flight, head back home, be home for 4 or 5 days, and then come back and maybe only burn one vacation day.
It's great.
That's what we built into our schedule. That was the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And I think it's working out.
It's just one of those unique challenges that we have in Alaska region that just we have to adapt to a different type of scheduling because of our, because we're located in our office. So, summary, I really like that. I've taken advantage of it. With our lead rotation, it's built in a little bit. We get a couple 4 or 5 day breaks every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken trips with them. I've loved to take the ferry. I've gone up to Haines a couple times, gone up to Skagway now. I've taken the ferry over to Gustavus, really just kind of figure out where am I forecasting. So I enjoy those 4 or 5 day breaks just to get out of the office, not be landlocked.
And those days off are built in after working the mid.
Yep.
So do you like working mids? I know I enjoy them a little bit. But I think I enjoy them just because on the other side I get so many days off.
I have a love-hate relationship with
I think that's a really good way to put it.
It's one of those, I feel like on overnights I really get to dive into the forecast. I don't necessarily have the extraneous, things popping up with maintenance issues or having to go into meetings or anything like that. I can just purely focus on my forecast. It's quiet. I can connect with the forecaster that I'm working with that night. I learn more about them. I really enjoy the overnights and like the bond that you develop with the person that you're working with, because it is unique in what we do. The parts that I don't necessarily like about overnights is you just kind of lose grasp of society, kind of like how we talked about a little bit. And not like, it sounds very dramatic, but, you do have to it takes extra effort you have to put in the extra effort for your daily life whenever you're on mids. Like, I'm a single guy that, I live alone. It's pretty relatively easy for me. Like, how do you do this with, like, you're the family person? Like, how do you handle mids?
Well, it's different once the kids started getting into school. Because then, when they weren't in school, it was just, Daddy comes home, we have breakfast, they put me down for a nap. Because we learned early on that if they're not part of that process, they don't know what Daddy's doing. And there's one time I'm taking a nap in the morning, and my daughter just opens the door with the confidence that only a 2-year-old can have, and goes, "Daddy, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? What's going on?"
I'm awake.
What's going on? And wife comes flying in. "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "It's fine." I was so out of it.
We've learned.
I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So now we learned that just like I put them down for naps and read them books, they read me books.
That's awesome.
And they flip through, and all I hear is just the page turning. My oldest, who's in first grade, she's actually starting to read, and so that's kind of fun. And so I do the split naps. So I come home, do breakfast, take a nap in the morning, and I wake up around lunchtime, have lunch with the wife and the two kids. One kid comes back because he gets out at noon. We have lunch, and then we have quiet time in the afternoon, and then we'll go get the other one back from her full day, and then we have dinner time together, and then take another nap in the evening.
Okay.
Usually, the goal is 6 o'clock, around there, give or take 15, 30 minutes, and then wake up at 9 and head on into the office.
There you go.
And an hour later. So that's how I've always done it, is the split shift. And I got that from Edward. Edward is another lead forecaster here. He said the split shift is good for him because then he'll go on hikes. He's a big hiker.
Yeah.
So he'll go on hikes in the afternoon. And so that's what I tried, and it's what works for me.
Yeah. No, I'm similar. I'm a split sleeper. I used to be the person that would get home from the overnight and sleep for 8-9 hours and wake up 4 in the afternoon and go about my day, but I don't know. I suddenly realized that I just didn't like doing that. I don't know. It wasn't like a realization. It was just like, you know what? Let's not. And so I do what you do. I wake up at about noon, and then I'll be a member of society for about 6 hours, and then I'll go back and lay down for about 3-hour nap, and then head in. Do you nap during the day, any, or do you try and nap during the day if you can?
Nope, I just nap in the morning and then nap in the evening. I know some people, they'll get off and they'll stay up until like 10, 11, 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then sleep until time to wake up and go to work. I just couldn't do that. I get off of mid, and I'm either like jazzed up, ready to go for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I'm dragging, and so I can't stay up longer than like 8:30 when you get off at 7.
Okay, well, that begs the question: how do you swap off of mids then? If you're going back into like a day shift, you try and push yourself.
Yeah, I know some people struggle with coming off of mids, going back into the normal world.
Mm-hmm.
I do not, and it's probably just I will credit it back to my TV hour days, because there's no shift in the weather service that's as bad as TV hours, so like I'm fine. And so on my last mid, I'll come home, take the morning nap, wake up at lunchtime,
Mm-hmm.
and then just stay up the rest of the day, and then go to bed at normal time. And then the next morning, if I'm dragging a little bit, maybe a little extra coffee, double shot in that latte, and then I'm fine.
Okay.
And then I'm right back into it.
So, you kind of said something interesting that got me thinking. So what were like your typical? How does this shift compare to like a TV shift, like hour-wise, things like that? Like, were you waking up at like 2 a.m, whatnot for TV? I'm ignorant to that world. So.
Yeah, it's so a mid in the weather service would probably be similar to the morning show of TV.
Okay.
Where you're at, the show starts, depending on what station you're at, the morning show will start either 4, 4:30, or 5. And so you got to be there somewhere between 2 and 3. At the station I worked at, me and a coworker, we would wake up between midnight and 1 and go into the station. That's where we'd do our forecast, make our graphics, write up the write-up for the website, do our radio recordings, all that. And then another coworker, he did it differently. He would wake up at his house at like midnight or 1 and then do all his forecasting there, and then come into the studio probably like 3.
Oh, okay.
So he would come in right before the show, but he had everything already locked away.
Yeah.
So he would just come in, make those changes on the computer graphics, record the online stuff, and then during the show, during the commercial breaks, he would do the radio hits. He would write up the write-up for the website, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. Like, Brian, you're a man of a different level. Like, I couldn't do that. I have to have everything done before the show, then I can just focus on the show.
Yeah.
But I worked weekends, and so the Saturday morning show would start at 6 a.m., so I'd have to be there 4 or 5 so that I can get the forecasting done, get the radio hits.
Mm-hmm.
The show gets done, shows from 6 to 7, get off at 7, I'm back home in bed by 7:30, have a little bit of a nap, but then back at the studio for the evening shows at 2 o'clock. Did the 6 and 10 o'clock show, get done at 10:30 at best case scenario. Football sometimes could push us later.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm back in the studio the next morning, Sunday, at 5 for the morning show on Sundays, which started at 7. And so that quick turnaround where I would get between 3 and 5 hours of sleeping was kind of prepared me for the weather service.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I like that kind of going back to, do we like mids or not? If you had to choose between, I know where I would fall in. If you had to choose between waking up to do an early morning shift or doing an overnight shift going into the morning, which one do you think you'd prefer?
Oh, man. I could define early morning.
So the reason I say that is one of the shifts that I have worked beforehand was a 5 a.m. shift. So you would show up to do the balloon launch at 5 in the morning, and so generally you'd be waking up at 4 in the morning to then do the balloon launch to get ready to go to work.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So and that was always, we had always talked about of like, if you could choose, would you rather just work the mid? And the reason it's brought up of like, would you rather have the mid shift person launch the balloon, or have the person coming in at 5 in the morning and then doing their day shift and launch the balloon, like start their day off?
No.
And so I think it, I don't know how that ended up panning out, but I think it would go to the mid shift. So yeah, I am of the crowd that is, I would much rather just stay up all night than have to wake up early.
My day shift, like we have our day shift start at 7.
Yeah.
And that's like on the edge of acceptable in my mind.
Oh yeah, that's probably the
like I'm like, can we start the day at like 9?
Like, I have no problems working day shift except for the fact that it starts at 7.
Yeah.
We can push it to 8.
That'd be great.
Perfect. 7, I'm here in body.
Just give me a little bit. Give me a few minutes.
Give
I'll
me
wake
like an hour to get some coffee in my system. Nobody talk to me, and then we'll be good. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Yeah, for sure. And as far as like when people call in sick, and sometimes we have to work doubles to cover them.
Yep.
I can do a day shift into an evening shift. I can do the evening into the overnight. I could not do an overnight shift into a day. I can't do that double.
No.
That
I don't
would
think I've
just
ever
be
done
rough.
that double. Have you?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's come up as an option, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know if
We got someone else has.
I don't know if I purposely have worked a double like that, but I've definitely been on like severe weather cases to where I've been the overnight shift and I've had to stay over till like 9 or 10 in the morning. But
Yeah.
never like, oh yeah, you have to stay the full 8-9 hours additional. I couldn't make it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I could, like you said, I agree. I could do the mid or the evening into the overnight, day into the evening, but that overnight into a day shift, I'd be so crusty.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Well, that was like with that was one of the big proponents of the midnight to 8 a.m. shift was, your shift partner would come in at 11, you would come in at midnight. Well, they got to leave at 7 a.m. and all your day shift is coming in and getting ready, and you're there till 8. So everybody's all bright and fuzzy in the morning at 7 a.m. and you're there with
Good morning, I'm here for my day.
good morning, and you got like sleep in your eyes and you're just trying to pump out this last aviation forecast and just, yeah, I'm doing great, guys.
I'm doing fine. I'm
This
doing
is
fine.
perfect. All right, yeah, So that's just, I could not imagine having to do a double from an evening to a day shift or an overnight to a day shift.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
So the next question is, if someone were to ask you why do you work mids? Why is weather service open 24/7? What's the answer? What's your answer?
I mean, simplest way is that weather doesn't sleep. So neither do we.
You serious?
Yeah.
You mean weather doesn't clock out at 5 o'clock?
You mean to tell me we have a really strong front pushing into the Panhandle at 1 in the morning? So somebody should probably be here watching it.
Yeah.
Whether it's always it's cliche of weather doesn't sleep and neither do we, but it's honestly the truth of just there's always something going on, or there's always something we need to be looking out for a couple of days in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily just the now.
Yeah. And even on quiet nights, it's still good to have somebody here.
Yeah.
Especially for where we're at, with the tsunami earthquake risk is our big thing here, which I've heard stories from other lead forecasters. So they were like, be like 6:30, getting to the end of their mid, and then an earthquake goes off, and they have to kind of help that transition from the midnight crew to the day crew.
Yeah.
Massage that transition there, and so they end up being here till 8, 9, 10 o'clock because there was a large earthquake by Prince of Wales Island or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another reason why we're here, is for those emergency situations or Coast Guard search and rescue.
I was just about to say
I just thought of that. Didn't we get a spot forecast for yesterday?
We got a spot forecast in the evening for a search and rescue mission. So yeah, that's another reason is we get those all throughout the day and night of different search and rescue missions, flooding issues, things like that. So yeah.
There are other people who are way cooler than us. They work 24/7, but sometimes they need weather information.
Yep. And they rely on our forecasts.
Yeah, and so that's where they can call us for those reasons. That's one reason why we're here. Also, another big reason why we're here is that, as our director Ken Graham said, the midnight shift is where you solve all problems.
Oh yeah.
So we got to make sure that we can be here, figure out what's wrong with the world and the weather service, so we can just send Ken Graham our emails like, hey buddy, here's what we did. We figured it out.
You solve most world problems on mid shifts.
You really do. If only we could take that energy and apply it to the day side.
Perfect.
All right. And so what are this might be something that's probably more similar to all the weather services, but maybe you can shine some light. But, what do we do on a midnight shift? I mean, obviously, we update the forecast. You got the TAF forecast.
Yep.
We do the climate report. We
Yep.
keep an eye on records, road records broken, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you've done on a midnight shift that would be unique to the mid? I guess balloon launches.
Yeah, I would say balloon launches were a thing that I did with the Atlanta office. Specialty balloon launches, like during hurricane operations, we would do launches every 6 hours. That was something we would do in the mids. Atlanta was a little different because we had assigned duties, so like you came in and you knew like what you were doing before you came in. So, trying to think. Other duties that I would probably say that we do here that are maybe different than the lower 48. Ours are automated balloon launches.
Yeah.
Which is pretty. It's one of those catch-22s of I like the convenience of it, but I miss the rawness of being out there and actually inflating the balloon and letting the balloon go. Everybody does TAFs at the same time. That's pretty something that I always found pretty interesting or cool was with the 6Z, 12Z, 18 and 0. Everybody in the weather service is issuing that forecast
same time
at the exact same time.
That is cool.
So I always thought that was something pretty interesting on the mid is you kind of know when most people are working on the aviation forecast around that certain time. Same thing with balloon launches. They're all launched at the same time, unanimously across the world. So just another interesting tidbit that I always found interesting from the mid shift. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other interesting things that I've gotten to do. Fun part about mids, I think, coming from like the Anchorage office was the Anchorage office is huge. Like there's 3 offices within that one building, and they have the aviation weather unit who's also 24/7. Anchorage is essentially 2 WFOs in one. So
there'd be a lot more people.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at was
like 4 or 5 in that room.
Yeah, here it's usually just us two, and it's relatively quiet. Their mid shifts aren't quiet. There's quite a few people still in that building. Even in the Atlanta office, during operations, you were co-located with the River Forecast Center in the southeast. So this is the first office that I've been at that it is truly just us two here by ourselves on the overnight shift. But yeah, just something that I was just thinking about on the way in tonight of like, yeah, this is the first office that I've been at that it's just us two doing our thing. What about you? I mean, you said this is really your only office, but what is your favorite part of the mid that you do?
I think there's the uniqueness of it's so quiet, and so we get to listen to music, and sometimes it's louder than normal. There's the food, like we will cook. Like I've cooked food before.
Yeah.
We got plans to
cook
pancakes tomorrow night.
Pancake breakfast.
That's stuff that doesn't happen on the day crew or the evening stuff. So there's little unique things that we can do on a mid because there's no one else here.
Well, I think it goes back to like talking about why do I like mid builds in that camaraderie. Like again, I think it's just that you work with that forecaster, just you two in that office for 9 hours at a time, for multiple days on end. You're going to get to know that person fairly well. And we also work mids fairly often, rotating through the schedule with each other. So yeah, it's those are like my probably favorite part of mids is like working with you, getting to know you over the last 6 months, planning to do breakfasts, planning to hang out outside of work, make plans for our group of coworkers to do a cooking night or something like that.
Or even just talking, like when you were new, being able to have that time to talk about Juneau. And have you been to this restaurant? Have you been to this restaurant?
Oh yeah.
Have you been to this store?
Huge.
Because our forecast duties, we're only focusing on this time frame as our main time we focus on. There's more time to sit and discuss like life in Juneau. And so when a new person comes in, you can talk about, you want a good burger, go here. Or good fish and chips, go here.
Yeah.
And so that's another fun thing that I've enjoyed is being able to learn more about the new city I'm in with the different forecasters that I'm working with.
And it's part of the beauty of mids too is that 5 days off. You take all those recommendations that you've gotten throughout the mids, and you can go and take the ferry to Pelican Bay for the weekend if you feel like it. Yeah.
This is good. It's a good discussion talking about mids on a mid.
Mids on a mid. It's one of those things of I love the mid and I love to hate the mid.
Yeah.
I love the quietness of the mid. I love having the excuse that I'm on a mid of like,
yes, the excuse. I'm not gonna be able to go to that.
Yeah,
I'm working nights, and everybody like immediately goes,
okay, yeah, that's cool, it's fine. No, I totally get it. If they're a shift worker, I feel like they get it.
Yeah,
I feel like I deal with this a lot more with like friends that aren't in the weather service or family that's not in the weather service. Is trying to explain what a rotating shift work is. What is a mid, like we're talking about now. I think that's probably been the hardest part for me as a weather service employee is trying to instill in family and friends of like, I'm tired. But it's okay. Like, I'm tired if I am putting forth this effort to hang out with you. Like,
it means I really like
it. Means I really care and want to be in this situation. That was another side rant that I could go off of, but like mids are tough, mids are hard on your body, but I also find them really rewarding as well. That would be the way that I would describe it.
Yeah, I think that's the way I do it. Is that yes, it's rough, so you have to make it your own and make it fun. Mm-hmm. Like earlier, we were listening to that one CD that came out like a week ago that. Like
Disney pop punk CD, whatever it was. Yeah,
we wouldn't do that on the day shift because, well, let's be real. I'd be like, I don't want to. Yeah, this is totally weird to listen to that song. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
If I'm not singing "Let It Go" at max volume at 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah, this is weird. I wouldn't do that. And then inside, I'm like secretly singing it out.
Oh, belting it.
Well, thanks for joining me on this talking about mids on a mid, and hopefully we can get a meet and greet, get to know you a little more, your background, where you're from, all that stuff during season 3, because it's the end of September now, starting October next month or next week. October is next month, and it's also next week.
Oh gosh, where did September go? I feel like we just came out of August.
Yeah.
Shift work in mids, overnight shifts.
Yep. You don't know what time it is.
Time's a construct.
Yep. Well,
it seems to be the theme.
Well, we'll try to figure out what time it is here
and what day it is.
Yeah. It's a little after 1:30 now, so we should probably figure out what we got to do next. Probably. You got TAFs, don't you? No, wait, no. TAFs is like at 4.
Yeah. I start early though. I'm pretty slow, so. And probably won't be the easiest forecast tonight with this front pushing through. So
yeah, I got a satellite loop here. Looks like the front kind of centered over Prince of Wales Island down south, and then we just got some showery stuff in the north. So good luck with TAFs.
Thanks. See how it goes.
Well, to you, thanks for hanging out with us for the last probably half hour. So wow, this is a good talking about mids. So thanks for hanging out with us. If you have any questions for the podcast, we can answer them here during the podcast. Email those to juno.weather@noaa.gov, and we'll see you next time.